Have you ever imagined a world where the biggest PC company on Earth suddenly decides it doesn't need Windows anymore? It sounds impossible, right? For decades, Windows has been the heart of personal computing. Whether you're gaming, working, studying, or browsing the internet, chances are you've used a Windows-powered device. But what if I told you that one of the world's largest PC manufacturers is now making moves that could seriously reduce its dependence on Microsoft's operating system? And what if this decision could completely reshape the future of the PC industry? Stay with me, because what is happening right now is much bigger than most people realize. This isn't just another tech update. This could be the beginning of a major shift in the balance of power between hardware makers and software giants. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why companies, investors, and even Microsoft itself are paying very close attention. Welcome back to Pulse AI. I'm Nova, and today we're diving into a story that could change the future of personal computing. For years, Microsoft Windows has dominated the PC market. It became the standard operating system for businesses, schools, governments, and everyday users. Computer manufacturers built their entire business models around Windows. Consumers expected it. Businesses relied on it. Developers created software specifically for it. In many ways, Windows became almost impossible to replace. But recently, something very interesting started happening. Some of the world's largest PC manufacturers have begun exploring alternatives. Instead of putting all their trust in Windows, they're investing heavily in their own operating systems and ecosystems. The company making the biggest headlines is Lenovo, currently the world's largest PC manufacturer by market share. Now, let's be clear. Lenovo isn't suddenly removing Windows from every computer tomorrow. That's not what's happening. But the company is increasingly looking at ways to reduce its dependence on Microsoft, and that's where things get fascinating. Why would a company want to move away from a system that has worked so well for decades? The answer comes down to control. When a PC manufacturer ships a Windows computer, Microsoft controls the operating system experience. Microsoft decides many of the features, updates, integrations, and strategic directions. Hardware companies build the machines, but the software experience largely belongs to Microsoft. For years, this arrangement worked perfectly. But today's technology landscape is very different. Artificial intelligence is changing everything. AI assistants are becoming deeply integrated into operating systems. AI can help users write emails, create presentations, generate images, summarize documents, and perform complex tasks. The company that controls the operating system increasingly controls the AI experience as well. And that's where competition becomes intense. Many hardware companies don't want to simply become manufacturers of devices that serve Microsoft's AI ambitions. They want their own AI ecosystems, their own services, and their own customer relationships. This trend isn't limited to Lenovo. Around the world, technology companies are investing in alternative platforms, cloud-based operating systems, Linux distributions, Android-powered devices, and AI-first computing experiences. In China especially, the push towards software independence has accelerated dramatically. Several Chinese technology companies have invested heavily in developing alternatives to Western software platforms. The motivation is partly strategic, partly economic, and partly political. Depending too heavily on a single foreign software provider creates vulnerabilities that many companies would prefer to avoid. As a result, we're seeing increased interest in homegrown operating systems and software ecosystems. Now imagine you're running one of the world's largest PC companies. You manufacture millions of devices every year. You have global customers. You have massive engineering teams. You have AI ambitions, and yet a critical part of your product experience depends on another company. At some point, you naturally start asking an important question. What if we controlled more of the software ourselves? That question is becoming increasingly relevant in the AI era. Think about Apple for a moment. Apple controls its hardware. Apple controls its software. Apple controls its chips. Apple controls its ecosystem. This vertical integration gives Apple enormous power and flexibility. Many PC manufacturers have looked at Apple's success and wondered whether similar strategies could work for them. Of course, replicating Apple's ecosystem is far easier said than done. Windows remains deeply entrenched. Millions of applications depend on it. Businesses rely on it. Gamers love it. Enterprise customers trust it. Moving away from Windows is not as simple as flipping a switch. In fact, this is probably the biggest challenge facing any company trying to reduce its dependence on Microsoft. Users care about compatibility. If their favorite software doesn't work, they won't switch. If their business tools don't function properly, they won't switch. If gaming performance suffers, they won't switch. This is exactly why Windows has remained dominant for so long. The ecosystem itself creates a powerful barrier, but AI may be changing the rules. For decades, operating systems competed primarily on compatibility, performance, and usability. Now AI capabilities are becoming equally important. The next generation of users may care less about traditional operating system differences and more about which platform delivers the best AI experience. Imagine opening your laptop and having an AI assistant that understands your schedule, writes reports, creates graphics, manages projects, and automates repetitive tasks. Suddenly, the operating system becomes much more than a platform for launching applications. It becomes an intelligent partner. And whichever company controls that AI layer gains enormous influence. This is one reason why the competition around AI-powered PCs has become so intense. Microsoft is pushing Copilot. Google is integrating AI across its ecosystem. Apple is developing advanced AI capabilities. Hardware manufacturers are building AI-focused devices. Everyone wants a piece of the future, and that's why moves away from complete Windows dependence matter so much. Even small shifts can have major long-term consequences. If a company successfully develops a compelling alternative ecosystem, it could gradually reduce Microsoft's influence over certain segments of the market. We're not talking about overnight change. We're talking about a transformation that could take years. But history shows that technology shifts often start quietly. Think about smartphones. There was a time when BlackBerry and Nokia seemed unstoppable. Then new platforms emerged, user preferences changed, entire industries transformed. What looked impossible suddenly became reality. The PC industry may be entering a similar period of experimentation. Companies are exploring new operating systems. They're investing in AI. They're developing custom hardware. They're creating alternative ecosystems. And they're looking for ways to differentiate themselves in an increasingly competitive market. For Microsoft, this creates both challenges and opportunities. The company remains incredibly powerful. Windows still dominates global PC usage. Microsoft continues investing billions into AI, cloud computing, and software innovation. The company isn't standing still. In fact, Microsoft's AI strategy may help strengthen Windows rather than weaken it. If users find Copilot genuinely useful, Windows could become even more valuable. But competition is healthy. It pushes companies to innovate. It forces them to improve products. It creates more choices for consumers. And ultimately, users benefit. The bigger question is what happens over the next 5 to 10 years. Will Windows remain the unquestioned king of personal computing? Will AI create entirely new categories of operating systems? Will hardware companies gain more control over software experiences? Or will Microsoft successfully adapt and maintain its dominance? Right now, nobody knows for certain. What we do know is that the foundations of the PC industry are beginning to shift. Artificial intelligence is creating opportunities that didn't exist just a few years ago. Companies that once accepted the status quo are now exploring new possibilities. And some of the world's biggest PC manufacturers are preparing for a future where dependence on a single operating system may no longer be necessary. Whether these efforts succeed or fail, they signal an important change in mindset. The era of unquestioned Windows dominance is facing new challenges, not because Windows is suddenly disappearing, not because Microsoft is weak, but because technology is evolving faster than ever before. And in technology, today's leader must constantly innovate to remain tomorrow's lead. The next few years could determine the future of personal computing. Will Microsoft strengthen its position through AI? Will manufacturers build successful alternatives? Will users embrace entirely new computing experiences? We're about to find out, and whatever happens, it's going to be one of the most fascinating technology battles of the decade. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the future of PCs and artificial intelligence, make sure to like the video, subscribe to Pulse AI, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest breakthroughs shaping our world. I'm Nova, and I'll see you in the next video.